Hello, it's week 8. And thank you, everyone, for going through all of the work that you did to create your storyboard. And I'm in the midst of grading those now, and it's looking really good. So I appreciate everybody's hard work. And now we switch to finally get to past the world of information. So you've been hands on for several weeks, and just how do you do the day to day job of understanding and organizing vast amounts of data? And I think almost all of you ran up against some problems whenever you're listing out data. How do you, in what order do you list it in? So many of you ran across, is it alphabetical? Is it by date or something that you know? But most of you kind of lean towards something like popularity or something, let's call it, well, we'll call it this week, we'll call it metadata, which is data about data. And this week, we're going to look into very quickly what is metadata. And the reason why it's interesting is that this is sort of where all the qualitative stuff happens. This is where it becomes knowledge. So metadata could be popularity, it could be opinions, it could be ratings, it could be anything where someone or many people are working together to make one piece of data a little bit more interesting than another, and that can be a positive. It can be reinforced over time to make it something that's incredibly valuable. So knowledge to me is when there is that feeling behind a piece of information that it's been blessed or that it's been given more importance. And you can also see how this can be used incorrectly. Like you can game this, and people do all the time. In fact, one of the biggest problems that is coming up is how something that people click on or something that is popular is not necessarily something that is knowledge or that is valuable. So you have to be very careful. So there's a few things this week to get you to think about those things. I also want you to start to prepare for the final. So the first thing you need to do is to pick which one of these services that you're going to examine. And the way you're going to examine it is just in the fashion that you've already done. You are going to, all these rely upon user submitted information. And what you're going to see is you're going to be able to submit a piece of information, and then you're going to look at just how did they organize it. That's all I'm interested in. All the things that you tried to do. How did they make it into a list? How did they help people navigate it? All the things that you did in your own with your own data. I want you to look at these services and start to realize that, aha, that's all they did as well. They did exactly what you tried to do. Oftentimes they were more successful for one reason or another. So that's what the goal of the paper is. So this week, pick one of these services. If you have a service that relies upon user submitted data, ask me first through an email. And I will let you know if I think that it will work. If not, pick one of these. Obviously, many people will be picking the same ones, and there is no real points for originality in this one. Well, there is points for your own opinion, of course, but I think two people can examine the same service and come up with wildly different things. There's a few exercises. One thing is I'd like to talk a little bit about ratings and reviews. What is it about them that you think makes a piece of information more valuable? Can you see the good and the bad of that kind of reaction? There's a bit on data visualization, which is something that I'm very passionate about. It's a whole course that you can take, but I wanted to talk about it because it's another way of getting a lot of data in front of someone for them to make a decision. There's also sharing some examples of interactive data visualization. And then I want you to think about what is the core data, what is the content of your chosen service. And what I mean by that is, the core subject of Facebook is the post. The post could be a picture, it could be a comment. That's the core data. How they organize that core data is the subject of what Facebook is, for example. So it could be something that is simple as that, or what is a post actually could be a complicated description, a little bit more detailed than what I just said. But what I'd like is just a post-it note so I make sure that you're on the right topic, because many of these services have branched out into being about much more than they were in the beginning. So as you start to investigate one thing, you might want to go back and look at these services earlier in their manifestations, because a lot of them have morphed and changed. But usually their core data, let's say Twitter's a good one, is a tweet. A tweet was in the beginning just a piece of text as well, 144 characters. That's all they had to work with. Now, as you remember back in week 2, they had a few more things: the date, the person, etc. And personalization is actually one of the things you're going to need to think about a little bit more, which is you not only know the tweet or the piece of text, but you know the person who did it, or at least a little bit about that person. And that's another kind of twist to some of these services, is how much do they know about you? So I just want to make sure you're on the right track. So if you can just let me know here if there's any comments that I need to make sure that you're focused on the right aspect of these services, I'll leave that here and give you that feedback. So that's going to be the final paper due in the next couple weeks. So it's definitely one thing I want you to focus on and definitely get started. Look at the rubric, ask me any questions that you need, and welcome to getting toward the end. Cheers.